What really happened to Netta Fornario, a woman who travelled to the remote island of Iona in search of supernatural experiences? Was her death a result of exposure to the elements, or something more sinister, as some have suggested? Hi folks, I'm Johnny and welcome to The Oddest. In this video, we're going to dive into the mysterious circumstances surrounding Netta's arrival, panicked state and subsequent disappearance, which ultimately led to the discovery of her lifeless body. Get ready to be taken on a journey of intrigue, supernatural beliefs and unsolved questions. November of 1929 marked a harrowing discovery on the Scottish Isle of Iona. A young woman's lifeless and unclothed body was found lying in a crudely carved cross on the turf. With one hand tightly grasping a knife and another weapon laying close by, it was clear that her last moments were wrought with fear and struggle. Her body showed minimal signs of injury, but what made the scene all the more chilling was the heavy silver crucifix that she had been wearing, which had inexplicably turned black. As the investigation unfolded, the woman was identified as Netta Fornario. Now, all that's left to find out is what happened. The Hebrides, with their rugged terrain and untamed beauty, have long held a mystical allure, and none more so than the stunning Isle of Iona. It's said that those with a particular sensitivity to the spiritual realm can feel a strange stirring in their souls, a compulsion to leave behind the familiar and venture to this remote corner of the world. With its haunting tales of dragons, selkies, fairies and saints, the island has a rich and mysterious history that draws people from far and wide. Marie Emily Fornario, or Netta as she preferred to be called, was no exception. Against all logic, she left her comfortable London home and answered the call of the Isles, travelling to Iona in search of something or someone that she couldn't quite name. As she walked amongst the ruins of the Augustinian nunnery, searching for a sign or a message, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching her. Was it the fairies, said to inhabit the island and lure unsuspecting visitors into their realm? Or was it something a wee bit more sinister? The air grew thick with a strange, ethereal light, and Netta's heart began to race. Little did she know that her journey to Iona would be her last, and that the island's secrets would remain shrouded in darkness for years to come. As Netta disembarked from the ferry, the residents of Iona couldn't help but stare. Dressed in unusual arts and crafts attire and draped in a long, ominous cloak, she seemed to be a woman out of time, out of place on this tiny island. What's more, she arrived with trunks and furniture in tow. She was clearly planning on staying for a bit. Without any pre-arranged accommodation, Netta was forced to rely on the kindness of strangers. She eventually found a room at Tremor, a considerable distance from the village, and settled in with her belongings. Despite the locals' curiosity, she kept herself to herself, and her host, a Mrs. Cameron, respected her privacy, sensing that there was something deeply troubling about her mysterious guest. So, what was the reason for Netta's sudden arrival on Iona? Was she really there for her health, as the locals suspected? Or was there something much more sinister at play? As the days wore on and Netta's behaviour grew more and more erratic, Mrs. Cameron and her neighbours began to wonder if they had inadvertently welcomed in an unknown danger into their lives. I mean, let's face it, she could well be a deranged serial killer. Although, going by witnesses at the time, it's more likely that she was just expelled from Hogwarts. Netta was not your average traveller seeking a respite from the world. She was a member of a secretive and enigmatic organisation known as the Rosicrucian Order of Alpha et Omega. Whew, that was a mouthful. The members of this organisation were obsessed with unlocking the secrets of an ancient past. They delved into the esoteric realms of magic, astrology and alchemy, believing that by doing so they could unlock the hidden truths of the universe. I told you, Hogwarts. But Netta's interests went far beyond mere academic curiosity. She believed that she had been gifted with a rare talent, the ability to heal others with her mind. To do so, she would subject herself to extreme fasting and meditation, pushing her body and mind to the brink in order to achieve a state of heightened awareness. When she arrived on the island of Iona, She had a singular mission: to heal someone or something that was deeply in need of her help. She spoke of a terrible case of healing and hinted that she was seeking to tap into the power of the green ray elementals, the spirits that protect the life force of nature itself. But what was the source of Netta's obsession? And what kind of danger was she putting herself and others in as she pursued this mysterious quest? As the days went on, Mrs. Cameron and the other residents of the island began to realise that Netta's mission might be far more dangerous than they ever could have imagined. On the morning of the 16th of November, Netta Fornario's behaviour took a sudden turn, sending chills down the spines of those around her. In a panicked and agitated state, she spoke of strange visions and a ship without a rudder that floated across the sky. Netta's host, Mrs. Cameron, tried to calm her down, but the woman was inconsolable. She was convinced that something or someone was trying to hurt her, and she needed to leave Iona immediately. She believed that there was a dark force, and it was now after her. After packing up her belongings, she retreated to her room, waiting anxiously for the chance to leave. If you've ever visited any of the Scottish Isles, then you'll know that you can't simply leave. You need to wait for the ferry. After a few hours had passed, she emerged from her room and appeared a lot calmer, but her demeanour had changed. She appeared haunted and aged beyond her years, and her eyes held a faraway look. The following morning, the Camerons awoke to find Netta gone. Despite a search of the island, she remained missing. They only knew one thing: she's still definitely somewhere on this island. As night fell, the locals continued the search under the light of a full moon and the dancing northern lights. Days passed with no sign of Netta. It wasn't until the early hours of November 19th that her body was found, naked next to the fairy hill of Iona. Netta had carved a cross into the ground and then lay upon it, holding a knife in one hand with another nearby. Her once silver cross had tarnished and blackened. Her black cloak lay folded beside her despite the bitter cold. Though she had scratches on her toes and on her body, she appeared otherwise uninjured. The mystery of Netta's death sent shockwaves through the small island community, leaving everyone to wonder, what happened? The eerie circumstances surrounding Netta Fornario's death on the remote island of Iona sent shivers down the spines of all who heard this tale. The strange occurrences that preceded her demise, including blue lights and unidentified cloaked figures, only added to the sense of unease. Netta's private letters and diary, which contained troubling content, were either lost or destroyed by the authorities, only adding to the mystery. Even Netta's friend, Dion Fortune, who was intimately familiar with her obsession with green ray elemental contacts, claimed to have had premonitions of trouble brewing. Fortune even alleged that Netta had fallen victim to a psychic attack from a dead person, former Alpha et Omega Temple leader Moina Mathers. She had been dead for 18 months. Others have since come forward with puzzling discrepancies surrounding Netta's death, including how a frail woman managed to travel over a mile barefoot without sustaining more than a few scratches on her toes. The circumstances surrounding Netta's death remain shrouded in mystery, leaving one to wonder if supernatural forces were actually at play on that fateful night. The story of Netta and her life and death on this remote island of Iona is certainly a mysterious and tragic one. It's difficult to say exactly what really happened to her, but the various theories and rumours that have arisen over the years suggest that something very strange and possibly supernatural may have occurred. From the reports of blue lights and cloaked figures to the scratches on her body and the eerie circumstances of her death, it seems clear that there's more to this than meets the eye. It's also clear that Netta was a deeply spiritual and otherworldly person, with a keen interest in the supernatural and mystical. Her friend Dion Fortune's comments about her interest in green ray elemental contacts suggest that she was perhaps exploring some very deep and esoteric practices. Whether these practices led to her death or whether something more sinister was at play remains a mystery. However, it is clear that Netta's life was cut tragically short and that her death left a lasting impact on those that knew her. Me personally, there's a few things that spring to mind. I'm not an expert in metallurgy, but I don't think a silver cross can just turn black in the same manner it's described in this case. Also, how did the lassie wander the island for days in barefoot and only have a few scratches? Now, I've been to Iona, and I'm willing to wager that no one could roam around for a few days without being seen by anyone, even back in 1929. Beliefs and superstitions aside, it's clear that she was troubled and possibly suffered from some sort of psychosomatic break. Her absolute belief that someone or something was after her could well have contributed to or caused her death. That, and exposure to the elements, which, by the way, was the official ruling of the coroner's report. Exposure. If you're still with me at this point in the video, I want to express my gratitude for that. Thanks for listening to me waffle on. Take care of yourselves, and no matter what, always remember to keep smiling.